Good morning, everybody. Good morning. So, anyways, yeah, wow. You know, I remember writing this book back in February, March, and then I think at the end of March, beginning of April, or April is when I actually turned the book in to my publisher because I wanted to have the evolution of the Jilly Juice protocol out during this pandemic. Okay, because we have to give people some kind of alternative to the antibiotic reactions that are so prevalent in the allopathic holistic world. And so, um, you know, my Facebook lives, YouTube, whatever I post on Facebook gives you more of my research and a bit even more detailed explanation of what you could be possibly looking for when looking for more substantiation. Though I give you enough substantiation in this with my, the bibliography, but we know this is not super complete. It is and it isn't. Because right now, just getting people to understand what's part of their microbiome, because I'm so far ahead, so much further ahead than most everybody out there, especially if you've just been introduced. So for me, this is not complete because I know there's a whole lot more to this than what this involves, but a lot of your friends and family do not know what is in your microbiome. A lot of your friends and family do not know the role and the benefits, as well as the possible negative effects of your microbiome. Okay, well, why would there be a negative effect on your microbiome? Because of imbalances. But you have to know that all of your body, mind, and spirit, all of your 11 different systems, 12 if you actually separate male and female, they are made up of viruses, parasites, protozoa, proteins, fungus, and bacteria, which emit a biochemistry of fatty acid, amino acid, prohormones, and minerals. And so that has to all be kept balanced out correctly. The reason why people get infection is because there's an imbalance in their microbiome. And that's what I talk about in here, is that antibodies get produced when there are anomalies in the flesh, in the cells. Okay, and that's why antibodies get produced, because it acts like a search and destroy, like a zapper. And what happens is the body, well, biotech has figured out how to bioengineer your bodily functions to actually attack itself when your request is not to feel pain. Okay? So here's the thing. I've been focusing on antibodies and antibiotics. When I first started rolling out the Jilly Juice, I thought it was Candida, was the underlying cause of everything. And it actually is one component, because Candida is fungus. Okay? When somebody has skin issues, they have fungal infections. And when you have a fungal infection, then they get prescribed, the human who has a very uncomfortable fungal infection, it could be psoriasis, eczema, any type of skin condition, they get prescribed an antifungal, which then stops the fungus replication, and it suppresses it, and it stagnates it. And everybody has yeast in their body. Yeast is a fungus. When it's overfed or imbalanced, it becomes then Candida, or a fungal infection. Everybody is made up of bacteria, okay? And so, and you have bacterial infections, they have antibacterial type of protocols, antimicrobial type of medicines. So in the beginning, when I first rolled out Jilly Juice, at first I thought Candida was the underlying cause. But no, it's just one component out of the 6. So what is it? So we have viruses, parasites, protozoa, proteins, fungus, and bacteria. That's 6 components of your microbiome that right now the holistic allopathic industry compartmentalize all of those and say, oh yeah, no, it's parasites are the one that causes all your issues. Oh no, it's the viruses that cause all your issues. Oh no, it's the protozoas. It's the anomalous proteins. Oh no, it's the bacteria. It's the fungus. Okay, and so then they have a drug for every single one of the components of your microbiome. What is a drug? It's an antibiotic. What is antibiotic? It's anti-life. What does antibiotics, anti-life do? They trigger antibodies in your body to attack cell tissue. Why does it do that? Because you have weaknesses, because you have degradation. You have anomalous proteins in your body that these antibodies bind themselves to and then do a search and destroy and completely, destroy the cells at the micro level and then eventually the macro level and shut down vital organs. Well, how do you stop antibodies from being produced? You have to keep regenerating and you have to keep balancing out your microbiome on a continuous basis. Okay? When you are sneezing, when you are blowing your nose all the time, when you have infection symptoms, that infection shows imbalance. Okay? When you look up infection symptoms, it's the body, yes, trying to evolve and adapt to the current environment, and it's trying to release any excess, and then your biochemistry is supposed to hold enough of the constituents because you're bringing in the right chemistry to then keep replicating at the micro level so that way you can continue to live. But what happens is that people have so many predispositions, they're born with predispositions, they have weaknesses and issues in their major organs, and then they feel symptoms because the body is trying to regrow and evolve, and then people feel that evolution, and what do? They turn to the nearest drug. If they have a skin infection or they have an imbalance in their fungus or in their yeast, then they're taking antifungals, some kind of antibiotic, antifungal. And so it suppresses the evolution of their fungus. Okay, but well, how do you keep control of the fungus and not allow it to come to surface the way it does? Well, it has to do with keeping your whole microbiome balanced out. Okay? So when I was doing a search, okay, on the different antibiotics, I'm going to, so I did antibiotics for, let me see. Yeah, okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. 12. So, okay. Here we go. There's that. Here's that. Okay. Okay, so antibiotics for the heart. Why would someone have antibiotics for the heart? Because that's anti-life. Why would you destroy your heart? Why would you have cells have the antibodies bind to your heart tissue and destroy it? Well, what happens is there is evolution in your heart. Okay? When you have evolution in your heart, which means that the heart is evolving, it's growing, it's adapting to the current environment, then they feel these symptoms. What do they feel? They feel heart attacks. They feel heart flutters, okay? And so what happens is that when someone doesn't want to feel their evolution, they're taking antibiotics for their heart to stop the evolution, which then puts them further at risk of heart conditions later. But this is the way the WebMD sells it. Antibiotics may be valuable weapons in countering that risk. In large studies of its kind to date, researchers found heart patients who took antibiotics had much lower risk of return to the hospital due to heart attacks or severe chest pain compared with those who didn't take the infection fighters. So the reason why you have chest pains and why you have heart attacks is because the heart and the chest is trying to evolve. But you have to supply it with the right chemistry. So when you're doing the Jilly Juice and you're feeling all these different symptoms, regardless of what it is, okay? All symptoms is evolution. You're taking a protocol that actually is rebuilding simultaneously as it's also purging out the excess antibodies. Okay, so it's not just purging out and detoxing you, it's also regenerating simultaneously. But when someone solely takes antibiotics and they have leaky gut, they're not actually maximizing the potential for maximum evolution for their heart. So this is why people die from heart attacks down the road, because of the way they react to their evolutionary process by taking antibiotics strictly for the heart or antibiotics in general. Anti-life. And it's being normalized to destroy yourself at the micro level. That's what's the crazy thing about this. And I know this is very hard for some people to wrap their mind around. And then I go, well, antibiotics for the urinary tract, because I'm looking up what other antibiotics that are bioengineered to target specific symptoms. Then you have the trimethopremes, the sulfamethazoles. And when I went to the hospital, because I had so many white blood cells, so many antibodies in my body, because of when I had a UTI, they gave me sulfa, they gave me an antibiotic that is strictly for UTIs. I was in the hospital getting fluids because I was allergic to the sulfa. That ought to tell you something. It almost killed me. Okay? And then I had to go get the fluids, which is basically the saline and the dextrose, to give fluids back to my body because the antibiotic was actually destroying me. Okay? Then people are taking cannabis. This is why I'm saying you guys that are doing cannabis, which is antibiotic, and it is affecting your endocrine system, which is all of your hormones, as well as your reproductive system. Okay? And I'm telling you, I think there really is an agenda out there because of the mainstream of cannabis and the whole political action communities around cannabis. And it's an antibiotic, as well as this whole thing with the mask, unmasks, vaxxed, unvaxxed. I'm seeing such a major psychological operation. And you guys are right. There is a depopulation agenda, but it's not just, extincting humanity. It's taking away the useless eaters, the weaker people in the population. Just so you know. Antibiotics affecting the digestive system. Oh yes, here we go. Doctors use antibiotics to clear up infections caused by bacteria. Why bacteria? Bacteria can be overabundant because people have imbalances. But instead of balancing out their biochemistry with the correct life-fulfilling chemistry, people are taking anti-life protocols to deal with bacterial infections, which is causing further damage to their body. And so, but some people have nausea and diarrhea and gas when they take them. Antibiotics can kill the good bacteria in your body along with the bad, but there's no such thing as bad bacteria. It's all good bacteria. And upset the healthy balance that makes the digestion work like it should. So, obviously right there in plain sight, antibiotics does destroy your microbiome. But people are like, oh, we know that already. But then why are people taking the freaking cannabis? Why are people taking all of their detoxes, their colloidal silver, all of these different natural remedies, and they think it's different than, the Cipro and the sulfa. Oh no, it's all the same stuff. So much garlic and so much turmeric honey is just as antibiotic as Cipro and amoxicillin. What is infection? Okay? An infection occurs when another organism enters your body and causes disease. No, it's when you have an imbalance in your bacteria, when you have an imbalance in your parasite, you have an imbalance in your fungus, you have an imbalance in virus, let's see. So viruses, parasites, protozoa, protein, fungus, and bacteria, you have imbalances in your microbiome. That's what causes infection, creates antibodies, and then people are not regenerating faster than they are degrading with the amount of antibiotics that they're taking. And this is the stagnancy and the degradation of humanity, is because they react to infection in an antibiotic way. Okay? And what are infection symptoms? Runny nose, sneezing, congestion, high fevers. Well, when you have imbalances in your body, mind, and spirit, let's say you're adapting to a new environment and there's pollen in the air and it's a new environment you've never been to, yeah, you're going to see a little bit of infection like sneezing because the body is getting rid of the excess, and then you're adapting to the new environment, and then eventually you'll be fine. Your body will be able to adapt and there's no infection because your body has the chemistry to balance everything out and welcome the new visitor. It's like when you bring in a new visitor into your house, at first it's like, oh gosh, new energy, and people are like, okay, getting to know the person, and then finally they assimilate, and then you don't, there isn't that newness of that person anymore because they are finally, have assimilated to the group. When I went to that party this last weekend, a girl came in on Saturday instead of Friday. And so she was kind of like the new entity that came in. Not everybody knew who she was and everything. And she's a nice girl, but it's like a new energy. And so it's like, oh, okay, this new girl comes in. Oh, hey, girl, nice to meet you. Da, da, da. And everyone's kind of doing the whole newness stuff, right? And then finally she's able to assimilate and be woven into the fabric of the party. And then, we're all finally, aligned with each other. There isn't that newness anymore. So that's exactly what infection is when you invite, when a person comes to a party late or a day late, okay? And then the body has to get used to this new energy. That's what infection is. But people then react to infection adversely, which means that they are doing things that are antibiotic. When somebody is really like tunneled and they have issues, like you've seen in the Real Housewives. I don't know if you ever watched Real Housewives. When a new a person comes into the group and then one person's like, I don't like that person. Oh, she's stupid. She's this, she's that. And then they try to counter that new entity. They try to reject it, and they create all this, craziness. Well, that's called an imbalance. And that's like the body of people allowing one cell to adversely affect the whole. Okay, so new entities coming into the environment could be embraced and be assimilated and adapt, or the body of people allow one person, one cell to try to reject the new entity, and then it causes then conflict. Okay, so groups of people are no different than the groups of cells in your body when something is being introduced to it that it's never been exposed to before. All right, so which antibiotics kill chlamydia? Well, chlamydia is just another type of virus or bacteria, when you think about it, or bacteria. I don't even know what that's fine. But it is a type of antibiotic that kills off the bacteria or kills off the viral issue. And so I think it's a bacteria. But anyways, it's instead of you taking antibiotics for chlamydia, do the Jilly juice. Bring in the right chemistry so you're not destroying your reproductive system every single time you have an imbalance in your reproductive area. And then there's, antibiotics for the nervous system, which is destroying your nervous system. Hey, Tiffany. Antibiotics for the skeletal system. Oh my God, this is when, people get osteoporosis and all the different bone infections because of imbalances, and then they're getting all these antibiotics that make the bones weaker. I mean, I'm telling you, every single natural remedy as well as prescription drug weakens the population. Every single antibiotic, natural or synthetic, weakens the overall body, mind, and spirit in a population. I see you, sugar. We'll go out in a minute. Antibiotics for the respiratory system. This is where people have a weakness in the respiratory area, where they're getting penicillin, amoxicillin, erythromycin. When people are taking antibiotics for a respiratory issue, they're weakening their lungs. And this is then why people get asthma and they have bronchitis, and they have all these flus and colds and respiratory diseases. and COPD, because the way in which they deal with the evolution and the adaptation of their lungs, they're not bringing in the right chemistry. Oral antibiotics for the integumentary system. Do you know that the integumentary system is the hair, skin, and nails? Okay. And so when you're taking antibiotics or oral antibiotics for your integumentary system for skin issues, it's because you have a fungal issue. You gotta bring in some sun and then bring in the right chemistry. That's the jilly juice. Okay, fungal infections is just an imbalance in your yeast, in your fungus. And then antibiotics for the lymphatic system. Oh my Lord. Then your lymph nodes. That's why people get lymph node cancer, because they have imbalances in their lymph nodes, which holds all the different antibodies and all the different waste material from your body, and then it stays there. And then when somebody gets lymph node cancer or lymphoma or lymph whatever cancer in there, it's because they hold so much waste in there and antibodies that are punching holes and causing then a misalignment in their systems. And then, yeah, cancer is prevalent. Lymphoma is prevalent. When I had a rash that I had a long time ago when I was a kid, that's right there, like where on my thigh, where, you know, the bathing suit line is. And I remember my parents putting, you know, some kind of steroid cream on there, and then it pressed everything back into the system. And it could have been a fungal thing. I don't know what, a lymph node thing. But anyways, I saw that as a symptom during my healing process. And it was weeping so much clear liquid during my healing process. So things from when I was like 8 or 9 years old that was suppressed by the antibiotics came back to surface, and then it finally was draining. Okay? And then it's gone. I don't have to deal with that rash ever, not that I ever did, but that is how latent some of our imbalances are. And then we were taking antibiotics to suppress everything, and creams and oh my God. That's why then people get cancer, because they don't actually take care of things at the root level. Then antibiotics for the muscular system to treat your pain. Well, that pain is evolution. Okay, so this is the thing, you guys. We are in a depopulation agenda. Okay? Regardless, no matter what, anything that the medical holistic industry prescribes to you, anything, all of it's antibiotic. There is nothing that is like the jilly juice in the holistic allopathic world, because nobody in the holistic allopathic world wants to feel pain. Pain is evolution. People are afraid of the salt. They're afraid of feeling pain. They're afraid of feeling uncomfortable. They're afraid of discomfort. At this point right now, our economy is crashing. Our economy is totally crashing. So now you don't have an excuse anymore to say, oh, I got to compete with the next guy because the next guy is at home trying to stay away from the COVID. So at this point, if you have now the space to just go buy a bunch of salt, water, cabbage, and do the jilly juice. But I'm telling you, right now, with this COVID, there are so many people out there that are buying into the holistic allopathic antibiotic remedies. They're either anti-vax or pro-vax, and then if they're anti-vax, then they're using antibiotics, natural antibiotics, in lieu of vaccines, and it's still doing the same number. It's still creating and bringing up antibodies, destroying you at the micro level. So no matter what, if you want to live and progress in this society, this next world, if you want to live and progress, you can't be doing all of the pills, powder, supplements, and detoxes and antibiotics. And hold on a second. Hold on. My husband's trying to message me. Hold on. I gotta go anyways. But you have to stop with the antibiotic protocols. You have to stop, okay? If you want to live a long life. Some of you don't, and I understand that. But I'm telling you, this is insane, what's going on. And when you actually understand the science behind antibodies and antibiotics, you're going to be like, holy shit, what the hell? Jillian's right, or they're right. They are trying to shorten your lifespan. Not trying to kill you, but shorten your lifespan, control your lifespan. It's not going to happen with the Dilly Juice crowd. All right, bye. All right, sugar, you want to go outside?